Jay Baba, I would love to dive into the topic of attachments this week. We all have different sanskaras that lead us to have different experiences and perceptions of our life. Although we are attached to different people, places, or things, we all have one in common. That is the attachment to ourselves and who we think we are. Throughout our lives with Baba, he unwinds our attachment to different things. He often takes things from us that we have hinged out. He often takes things from us that we have hinged our reality on to remind us that he is the only reality. I have often thought of this analogy when it comes to life with Baba. It's as if he gives us a whiteboard and tells us to draw the most beautiful picture we can possibly create. Once the picture is finished, and we are so proud of the product, he takes his hand and wipes it all off, saying, "Okay, now do it again." Often we are left heartbroken, pleading with him to bring it back and complaining to him how we poured our heart into it. Remember those Etch-a-Sketches?
Oh, yeah.
I feel this is how he breaks down our attachment to the lives we create. We have to keep drawing a more and more beautiful picture each time without getting attached to the final picture. We have to do it for him. And if it is for him, he has every right to wipe the board clean whenever he likes. In theory, that is easy. But sometimes we can't quite shake the attachments we have to things. Have you struggled with this? Baba, after all, is the creator and destroyer of attachments. Doesn't he have the power to give and take away all your desire for things? Sometimes it feels as if he uses our extreme attachments to things to do our work. For example, if you are someone who is attached to the idea of being successful, wouldn't that allow Baba to use your resources for his work later on? Of course, it is our job to give everything to Baba, but don't we have to trust that he will take things in his timing? Perhaps he needs that attachment you can't quite shake. Recently, I have tried to get to a place of self-acceptance with the attachments I have. I have gotten into the habit of saying, "Baba, I have an attachment to this. If it is your wish, will you remove it?" I feel this gives me the surrender and trust that if I do feel an attachment to something, it is because he wants me to follow it for his work. Have your attachments ever served Baba in ways you couldn't imagine? Did he take something away just in his delayed timing? I can't wait to see what this chat goes. In his love, Margi and Peter. And I already have a
Oh my gosh, I love when somebody wants to come out of the gate.
So I was in a Zoom last night with other Baba people, and one of them had just come back from India. And she told us 2 weeks ago that she must have left there her favorite turquoise jewelry. And it just broke her heart. She was so attached to this. Then 2 weeks later, which was last night, she told us that she let go of something else while she was in India. And what that was is she has had for the last 30 years this sinus issue that is so bad that once it comes on, she has to take this medication. Otherwise, it will have a life of its own.
So like every 8 hours, she has to take medicine.
As soon as she starts to feel it. And she got back from India and realized she never felt it and never had to take the pills.
For 30 days. She wouldn't tell us until 30 days passed, and she doesn't have the rhinitis anymore.
So that was a kind of interesting thing about attachments. Sometimes we unconsciously let them go, and then all of a sudden we realize, oh my God, we're not living with a horrible thing anymore.
Wow, that's so awesome. I feel like she really gave up attachment to it entirely because she was not even attached to the idea of getting rid of it. Like she was so surprised that she got rid of it that I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that I lost this attachment to this. That's really
Right on.
I like that story. So does anyone else have something on the topic of attachments that comes to mind right off the bat? I mean, I think it's something that we all struggle with, otherwise we wouldn't be here at all. Adrian, did you just want to talk?
Oh, wait, am I unmuted?
Yeah, I heard
I'm
Alan say
sorry.
you should raise your hand, so I wasn't sure if maybe you wanted to talk.
No, wait.
Oh wait, I think you just muted yourself. Okay, I think
Sorry, I was just like chewing really loud into the microphone. I'm so sorry, you guys. Chomping away on my vegan, macrobiotic bowl.
You even do it in two.
Yeah, just munching away over here, thinking about attachments. No, the camera's not on because I'm not prepared for that, but I guess I can just, I don't understand.
Just start the camera.
Okay, sorry. Hi. Jay Bob.
Jay Baba.
Hey, Baba. Wow, we've got Aaron on tonight too. Oh my gosh, this is a great crew.
Munching away as well.
You
Cool.
guys sure have
Munching
some
away.
attachments to your food. What, you can't just like live off air like monks?
Aaron. I just saw him.
Yeah.
I don't understand Zoom on the phone. So I'm going to go ahead and I have a lot of attachments. I don't want to talk about them right now, but I will mute myself, listen to other people enlighten me. Thank you. Sorry. If I can figure out how to do that.
So on the topic of attachments, does anyone have anything else that jumps out to them, or when they read this email that they're like, wow, yeah, I really did struggle with this. I struggled with something for a long time. And then finally, when it was taken away, I understood why I held on to it for so long. Is that Tony a hand?
Yeah. It's a story I've told before, but I don't think here. I was searching for Baba from the moment he dropped his body. He gave me an experience, and I didn't know I was searching for Baba, but he sent me on a search. And lots happened over that course in 1969. And the last thing was, I saw a poster at Queens College that said, Avatar Mayor Baba, public birthday celebration, Barbizon Plaza. And somehow my whole quest for that previous year got caught up in, I didn't know what it meant, trying to find this place. But I thought it was like Herald Square, Queensboro Plaza, Barbizon. No, it's a hotel. And I missed it. And the next day, or the day, that Monday or Tuesday, I think it was, I went to an underground university. I had to give up my quest. I mean, I would still try to be aware, but there was nothing else. I had done everything. And there was an underground university at Queens College that they would let students give classes on anything they were interested in, basket weaving or whatever, if there was a free classroom. And the bulletin came out, and there was going to be one on Eastern philosophy and mysticism. And I'd gotten really into that. So I walked in and I sat down, and there was a fellow named Twig. That was Richard Terwilliger, but he went by Twig, with long stringy hair and the Roger McGuinn glasses and a kind of a silly smile. But he's sitting behind a podium that he's put on the ground, cross-legged on the ground. And there's a "Don't worry, be happy" card. And but I don't see it. It's like it's like before a show is about to begin, and everything is just kind of still. And he says, usually I give these classes on some aspect of Eastern mysticism or philosophy, but today I want to share this amazing experience I had this weekend when I attended the public birthday celebration for Avatar Mayor Baba at the Barbizon Plaza Hotel Theater. And Baba's picture suddenly just opened up and flooded the room. And it was this big smile and everything else he said about Baba was just narration. It was me and Baba that whole time. And I get back home, I'm cutting a lot because it's a rich story, but I get home and I walk into the kitchen. My mother's washing some dishes. I said, Jesus, who you've been going to church for every Sunday, he's been here for the last 75 years. And she went, yeah, okay. And I walk down and I see this fellow I know. I hung out with a lot of different groups in those days because I was looking for someone. And I start telling him, and he's interested, he's listening. So I'm pouring how I know all this about Baba from that one moment. I don't know, but he kind of steers where we're walking, and we wind up in his apartment. I was maybe 18 and he was maybe 30. He was an older guy in the crowd. He says, wait here a minute, in his living room. He comes out and he gives me a copy of God Speaks and this beautiful glossy photo of Baba, wallet size, from London, 1932, I guess. And Baba's looking right at you. And so I started reading God Speaks that night, the introduction, Don's introduction, and just spent time with Baba with this photo. It was amazing. It was alive. Lots of stories I'm not saying, but it clear. So I get back to Queens College the next day, after that, whatever it was, and they used to hang out on the lawn, and the Baba lovers, not Baba lovers, and everyone is entranced with this photo of Baba, and how Baba, people see themselves in Baba's picture, how they see God. Well, one kind of sultry woman comes over and says, "Oh my, what an attractive man." And Twig looks at the picture and he says, "Can I have it?" Now, the only thing I knew about Baba was what Twig had, what I knew plenty, but that I had been told was that Baba wants you to be detached. And if Baba wants me to be detached, he's asking me for this picture, which I am so attached to. So it'll please Baba. I said, okay. And I went home and I went nuts. I was bouncing off the walls. I needed Baba's picture. We were spending every night together. And so the next day I went back went to school early, sought the guy out. I said, Twig, I need that picture back. I'm sorry. You remember the picture I gave you? I need it back. And he said, gee, I'm sorry, Tony, I don't have it. What do you mean you don't have it? Well, I gave it to someone. You gave it to someone? Who did you give? A woman who was at a party I was at last night. Well, can you get her? I said, no, I never met her before. I didn't really even speak with her much. And I learned the strongest lesson in my life, one of the strongest lessons in my life with Baba, that yes, Baba would like you to be detached I think in a healthy way from everything, but not him. So I was detaching from Baba's picture, and that was a very big mistake, and I have never forgotten it. So that's my
Oh, that's
story.
a great story. Yeah, Baba's got a funny way of giving us lessons that we maybe didn't really want.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Oh, that's awesome, Tony. Okay, we have Marion up next.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Tony, and everyone sharing. I have so much I could share, so I'm going to try to hone it down to a precious moment of detachment that I had just a few years ago. And what led up to it is that I, in my life, I have 2 children, 4 grandsons, and 2 of them that live in New York City. The 2 grandsons I took care of, along with my therapy practice, running it 3 days a week from pre-K to middle school. I took care of them 3 days a week, very immersed in there, taking them to learning to taking them to their play dates and picking up from school and fixing dinner, and I had all these skills with them that I learned, my nonviolent communication skills, and I felt I gave them so much and richness. Then when they got older, they could walk home by themselves in middle school. So gradually that all ended my immersing of care with them. Now, so even though, and in some of my training, I've learned how to really transform my lower self. When I'm feeling like mean and nasty and everybody owes me something and all, I really do know how to process it. And so I'm very grateful for that, because I did have that. I thought, hey, as they got older, these boys got older, and in high school and in college, I hardly saw them. So I really resented it. And I would tell Baba, I would give it all to Baba. And I said, look, I did all of this and I gave all of this and I'm not getting anything back here. And I knew Baba was working with me around detachment. And I had to really go through my lower self to the divine aspects of that lower self. So I did so much of that work. And during that time, I had the experience of my parents of this life who were no longer living, an altered state experience. I'm not going to talk about that because I've written about that, of total detachment with them. And it was not in this dimension. And I knew those two souls, I had no more karmic payback or anything with them. And I experienced, and Baba was there, not with the name Baba, because there's no name of God in this state. And I experienced an unconditional love I've never experienced before as I let go of those two souls that I knew I was one with forever, but had no karma with anymore. So when I came out of that state, I knew that Baba was taking me through that territory with my deepest connections, and that's my children, daughter and son, and these 4 grandsons. So I knew I had a lot of work to do. And so one day, it was just a few years ago, not very long ago, a couple of years ago, I was in my bedroom. I don't think I was thinking about this whole thing or anything, but all of a sudden, you know, that phrase, out of the silence comes the voice of God, that phrase. Well, I just happened, that silence came over me, and I just laid across my bed, and there's no mind chatter in that state. And I was in the silence, and what I heard was these exact words in English, with such compassion and just strength. You owed them. There's no reflection in that state. I just got it. These boys did not owe me a thing with all that I gave them, all those years of taking care of them. And it wasn't an intellectual concept. It was a knowing, a full knowing. And that voice came. And then I came out of that state, then I could reflect on it because there was no reflection in that state. And so I reflected on it, and I was like, oh, I owe them. They don't owe me anything. Oh my gosh. Now, I had been working on releasing my attachments, but this was that it was all dissolved. Now, it doesn't mean I didn't have those thoughts come up once in a while again. I do. And there's all these other attachments I'm still, going through. So I'll end it with that, because I felt it was Baba's grace about all that work I put into really being aware, reporting in, releasing my lower self. And then there was that moment of grace. It was beyond me doing something. Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, that's a really incredible story. And I think it really just shows like how foolish our idea of attachment is. I mean, you summed it up perfectly. You have no idea what the past is. We get these attachments in this life. And there's also a reason that we have, and if you didn't have that attachment, you never would have been brought to this experience where Baba taught you this lesson, And so I don't know, but I just feel like these attachments are how Baba gets his work done. He's kind of like, it's like, you give a kid a piece of candy.
Yes, it's like
really, yeah,
reeling me in.
drag them along, right? Keep them in something. No, but really beautiful story. I was talking to I was in Myrtle Beach this past weekend. I was telling Jeff how I was planning to do this topic, and he brought up Bob Brown, and he was saying that Bob Brown was like a very needy kind of guy, like really needed a lot of interaction, and he would, him and Jeff would talk about it, and he'd be like, I just need so much in these relationships, etc. And Jeff was reflecting how it seemed to him like Baba didn't shake this attachment that he had to this neediness, this feeling of, whatever, because it really forced Bob to reach out and connect to so many people. Because he had this nature of being needy, Baba was able to do his work through this attachment, because I think we view our attachments as such negative things. And when we can't shake them, we're so upset about it, and we just torture ourselves about how we're not good enough and we can't let this go and yada, yada, yada. But we never stop to think of that attachment. Like if Baba didn't need that attachment, it would be gone. Trust me, he's got a way of taking stuff away. And when he wants to get rid of it, it's gone. So yeah, just that reframe on why, if you didn't have an attachment to this, then this would, or if you didn't have attachment to the person that you were with, you wouldn't have kids, and then you wouldn't create more life, and you wouldn't do all this beautiful stuff. But that all comes from attachment. It's not, just out of nowhere, you wake up one day and you're like, oh, this sounds like a good idea.
Well, what I ask Baba, just put a question. I call put a question in the God pot. I'm not answering it. I'm not forcing an answer. After I had that experience, then I was able to just say to Baba from my heart, what is possible with these two beings, meaning these two grandsons? What is possible? And then I just left it. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't walk away and say, oh, I don't care anymore. No, it's what is possible with these two beings in this life. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Marion. I had a healer one time tell me that, when someone plays a role in your life as like a villain, so to speak, or someone who like plays an abuser role, the favor or like the sacrifice that their soul went through in order to do that is so great. And like for someone to come in, so it's the way she kind of explained it to me is like, think of there's like 9 tiers, right? And so if you're happy on the 9th tier and somebody asks you if they would be willing to play this role of the abuser, but they know they're going to get bumped down to the 5th tier, they don't want to leave the 9th tier. And so people who agree to play this role in your life and help you work out this karma actually love you the most. I mean, I know that we can't look at that from like an inner child perspective. We have to have that compassion for ourselves in those moments, but also it helps us have that forgiveness for those people. Like what they took on for us. Wow. Like that they got karma now that we have, that we lightened our load. They heavied theirs for our sake. But yeah, that's what I've got to say about that. Does anybody else have anything that they want to venture out with about attachments?
Does anyone want to trade attachments? Do you want to trade them tonight? Maybe in around a month or so? We could play like an attachment trading game. All right, Adrian. I think that's a good idea. We could do it randomly.
What attachments would you trade, Peter, if you could trade any?
I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that. That's a question. I probably want to give up my attachments.
Everybody put your attachments that you want to trade in the chat. But okay, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I'll throw in Boardwalk and Park Place if you could take my attachment to food.
All right.
I just want to just throw my hand in the ring, just, for this trading game. This sounds, it's like attachment poker, like attachment blackjack, attack jack, attach a jack attached. I don't know.
Wow.
I'm looking at the, oh God, homework is the worst.
I can share something that came to mind since we're talking about this subject matter.
Yeah.
Are we closing out soon? Well, I don't know what time.
No, we just started like 15 minutes ago.
I'm just coming in from a long day at work. So I don't know what's going on exactly.
Meher Baba is God.
Yeah, Meher Baba is God. So I want to, in terms of attachment, I just got back from, no, it's fine. No, I just got back from India, and when I was there, I had brought a couple of items that meant a lot to me. So one of them was my dad's watch that has a pretty long, amazing background story to it, but I'll just say that it was very meaningful to me. So I wore it pretty much every day. I would go to the Samadhi, and on one particular night, a couple of nights before we left to come back to the States, I wore it, and I did the typical thing I would usually do. I'd take it off as I was sitting there at the on the outside of the Samadhi. I'd take it off, and I put it down on the bench there. I had a little routine. I like little routines. So I had my little routine. I put my little watch down, do that, and then I'd go in the Samadhi, and I come back out and I put it back on. And this particular time, I had taken it off, put it down, and it was really crowded that night. And then went into the Samadhi, came back out, and was collecting my stuff, and then I noticed my watch wasn't. Sorry. That screws up the whole thing. I basically collected everything, and I was like walking halfway back, that long path back to the NPR, and I was halfway there. And right there, I was like, oh, my watch. Like, where's my watch? And I was like, I gotta go back. And the second I turn around, like I tell you, I turn around and it was like I just got stopped. I just stopped. It was like Baba was just like, stop. And I just stopped. And I was like, what's going on? Like, what is this? And then in my mind's eye, there was a lot of like internal like dialogue I was having with Baba, these little conversations that were personal. I didn't share them with anyone really, but this was very out loud. And it was kind of the same way that my dad had spoken to me after he had died. I knew he was dead, and he had come to me to tell me about this watch. So it was the same kind of energy of power. It was like Baba this time, and it was just right there. And he was like, what happens if your watch is gone? And I was like, Baba, come on, Baba, like, please, I'm not asking to keep it, but he said, well, is your watch more important than me? And I was like, Baba, I'm not saying that. And then he told me to stop again. And I was like, and it was like, do you want your watch or do you want me? And I was like, and I knew immediately it was like, he was asking me to let it go. And I said, yes, Baba, I'll let it go if that's what you're asking for. And he said, no, let it go all the way. Let it go. You're still holding on to it. And I said, I just took a deep breath and I was like, okay, that's the most I can let it go right now. It's the most I can let it go, Baba. That's all I can do. And I just had this feeling like this is the best I can do. I can't just let it go. I'm attached to it. I said that like that. I was like, I'm attached to it, Baba. I don't know what to say. And he said, okay, go back and see if you find it. And so I went back and I walked all the way back, and I got there and it was just even more crowded. And I looked around my spot, and of course there was nothing there. It was just all gone, and there was a bunch of people walking around. And I went up to one of the ladies who was handing out candy, and I was like, excuse me, sorry to bother you. And she was like, what? And I was like, I lost my watch. She was like, you lost your watch? And I was like, yeah, I can't find my watch. It means a lot to me. And at this point I was like at the verge of tears. And then I was like, I couldn't really seem like, I don't really care about it. I was like, I can't find my watch. And she was like, and she asked some other people, like, help him find his watch. So I went back to my spot, and I was sitting there, and I was just sort of like looking around, and I really didn't want to be there for the prayers. So I was trying to get out of there. I was feeling like I don't want to do the prayers. I don't want to do the prayers. And this woman came up to me. She's like, have you seen the watch? This watch is a watch around here. Have you seen it? Have you seen a watch? And I was like, no, I'm looking for, no, it's okay. It's all right. And right at that moment, it was like, time for prayers. And it was just like all this, I had to basically, stand up and do the prayers. There's no choice. I had a choice, but I was like, okay. So I stood up and, oh, Parvatigar, and at first it was a little bit like, obviously in my own head, but then something happened where every word that was being said started to drop deeper and deeper into my heart, deeper and deeper, and then past my physical heart, and then even deeper and deeper. Every word was filled with significance, great significance, more than I've experienced before. And by the end of the prayers, I almost completely forgot about my watch. I was like, I just was like, oh, I kind of, at the end of the prayer, the last word, I was like, wasn't there something I was looking for? I was so in kind of a daze. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, my watch. Well, okay, Baba. I just was like, okay. And I was just gonna walk away, and I grabbed my hat. I was gonna, put it on, and right when I grabbed my hat, the watch rolled out. So I had it the whole time. I had it the whole time, but it meant something different to me. It meant something much different to me. Now, this was, again, it was something I brought from the States to India because this was like a, actually quietly, Baba had said to me, you miss your dad, and you miss your grandmother, because they're gone physically, but you'll meet them again, and when you come visit me, they'll be there with you. And I said, oh, okay, all right, Baba. But that something happened where not only was it the attachment to the watch, but it was also the attachment to my dad and his death and all the story of it and the pain and there's a lot that was let go with that. So yeah, that was my story about attachment. Jay Baba.
Jay Baba. It's a beautiful story, Alan. That's really. It also just shows the mind, like how you had it the whole time. The reality was that Baba never really took it away. But we convince ourselves of things, and then he uses it for his game and his work. Yeah, really, really great story. But I think also that the point not that I want to make, but that I kind of came to me when I was in Myrtle Beach is like how much our attachments are out of our control. Like Baba asked you to give that up, right? And even though you said, of course, yes, Baba, it wasn't really genuine. It was like, okay, Baba, I'll do it for you. But it wasn't necessarily like, I'm ready to give this up. I can't wait. You weren't stoked about it. But then within minutes, Baba just dissolved it. And I think we get so like worked up about what we're attached to, and it's so meaningless because Baba, in one set of the prayers, Baba can take something away that felt like one of the most important objects that you have. Right. And so, yeah, we just worry at least I do. I worry so much about these things that I'm attached to. And I don't know why. Like, I should just trust that I have this attachment to get the work done that Baba needs. And when I don't have it, I mean, he'll make circumstances arise in my life, like misplacing a watch or something to get rid of those. Go ahead again, you guys.
Well, not to interrupt you, I just was thinking about a thing to share.
Yeah, of course.
Can you pause it again? I really don't like it moving recorded. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Super vulnerable and so beautiful. Like sharing that was no joke. But it's true. We all have these things that we're like, who knows why you were attached to that? Only Baba does. And it doesn't matter because it helped you grow.
Totally. Thanks, Margi.
All right, and Diane and Terry.
So I was thinking about the thread between last week's anger and this week's attachment. So, and I was rereading the part of the email that said, if we ask Baba if it's his will for us to continue with this attachment or let go of the attachment. So, but I've got to say that I'm still dealing with issues today at 67 and a half years old that I was dealing with when I was 9 years old in some of the same ways that I was conscious of. And I'm so tired of it. And I know this is on recording, so be nice to me. Years and years and years of therapy. And in some ways, I'm no farther in certain things. So it really pisses me off, as my Bostonian wife would say. But now that you've told me that maybe it's Baba's will, after all, that it isn't my lack of willpower, but it's Baba's will that wants me to keep this, that might be a more loving way to look at something, because when I practice my attachments, I feel like a criminal sometimes, that I have done the worst thing in the world. And that's not a loving way to treat me. I wouldn't let anybody treat Terry that way. I'd not let anybody treat my child that way. So I need to stop treating myself that way.
Yeah.
She
So-
seconds it. Okay,
Oh,
Bob.
that's beautiful sharing, Diane.
You want to share?
I think also it's remembering that you don't have to handle the attachment. And that critical voice is Baba. And so you leave Baba to deal with that attachment, you no longer have to use your willpower at all because it's on him to take care of it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Diane.
Terry has something.
Okay.
So this week, I was at work. It was early in the morning, and I hit a button on my phone, and all my emails disappeared. All of them. And I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of folders, but I haven't been putting the emails in the folders. So there was tons of Baba readings and all kinds of beautiful things that I didn't want to let go of. And I literally got panic stricken, like vibrating, a grown woman. It was emails. It wasn't my kid. It wasn't my wife. It wasn't any of you. It was emails. So I called my wife and I said, what do I, and, oh no, first I went around the office because there's a lot of young people and I thought there has to be a place where they saved my emails. I just don't know what it is. So I went to all the bright people in the office and said, are you savvy? And some of them, did you look in trash? I said, of course I looked in, I didn't say that. I said, yes, I looked in trash. And I was like really panic stricken. Anyway, I called Diane and she called Yahoo. And I guess Baba wanted me to have them back because for $10, they gave me back my emails. And with it, they gave me back all my trash too. So I had to go and get rid of like 100, of trash from the Gap and Old Navy and all that stuff.
All the things she talked about, attachments, about shopping.
Yeah, but that wasn't part of it. It was really my Baba stuff and my birthday stuff, stuff that meant something to me. So I have to say that the vibration was in there for quite a while. I was definitely, it felt like a huge loss somehow. And I don't know what to say except it happens, And I guess if I didn't, I already was beginning to say to myself, if you don't get them back, what will you do? And I thought to myself, well, I know Diane has some of them, so I can, so I was resolving it somehow with Baba. But I really love certain things that I get to read. And anyway, they're back, but I thought I would share that.
Yeah, that's a great story. I think that was like almost symbolic, if when we asked for these attachments that we love, Baba's like, okay, but you get all this trash along with it. I'll give you that kiss, but there's something else with it.
All right, and Anthony. Good evening, Anthony.
Good evening, Peter and everyone. Jay Baba. Wow, God, I'm trying to think of how to even put this into words and if it's going to come out right. I don't know. It feels like this has been happening ever since high school, that these very important chapters in my life that I was very attached to just seem to get really big and then just suddenly end, like never to be seen again. And it first started, in high school, I was playing in a band, hard rock and grunge band, and it was just my whole life. And the girl I was with at the time, I grew up pretty close to the Keys in South Florida, and, we were out on the boats all the time there on the coral reefs, and it just, and then I got into University of Florida for college, and I kind of didn't have a choice, with my family situation. I definitely had to go. And all that stuff just instantly ended, having to leave the band, after 6 years or so, and that whole life of being out on the boats there and out on the reefs. And I mean, it was just such a deep part of the identity and everything. And just overnight, that stuff was gone with, going to University of Florida. And, and then the next chapter, the girl I was with for years, when we ended up separating, my senior year in college there, we had a whole just whole life together and group of friends and everything. And that breakup was so bad, pretty much, I ended up leaving that whole chapter, with all the friends that were connected to us in our relationship, and just kind of moved in alone into an apartment and try to rebuild my life back, which is kind of when the spiritual path started. And, just something that was such a daily part of your life for years, just all those people and her and everything, that was gone pretty much overnight. And after, Peter knows I have a long history with Temple of the Universe. It's a spiritual center up in Gainesville, North Florida. And, started learning Indian percussion and trying to channel my music energy in that direction, learning tabla and, some other Indian drums. And we have a huge Hare Krishna community up here too. And, is doing a lot of kirtan with them. And this guy, Tim, who is my kind of music partner, we played all over town together and at different functions. And he was a music major at UF, just amazing harmonium player. And he got killed out of nowhere in a car accident. And then all the momentum of that whole chapter was just like gone overnight. So kind of just, surrendered that one up. And I just, some years later, I got back into, drumming, playing and all that. And just in this last year, I started developing this tendonitis in my forearm and shoulder issues. So I haven't been able to really play, too much anymore with the drum, and have been, in physical therapy and all that, and haven't really been able to find a solution to it. So, I've been getting back into guitar now after years, but it's, I'll tell you, it just, it's like you hit this wall and almost this little depression each time one of these things happen. But, what it's done over the years, it's just, it leaves you in this place where you almost just don't feel safe building up an identity or a strong habit in any one area anymore, because there's just such this pattern of these things ending just over and over. So I don't know, the place I'm in these days, I just, I just wake up, meditate, go for my little walks, exercise, play a little guitar, try to chant a little bit. And I don't know, I feel like there's no interest anymore in any of these things going anywhere or turning into anything, because there's just too many experiences of these things ending. So I kind of just wake up and do my thing and try to have like a good attitude about it, but no real attachment to anything turning into anything anymore. And I guess it's kind of nice, because you just, I don't know, it's like you don't feel like you're caught up in anything anymore. There's just too many experiences of these things ending. But hey, I still feel like I have a beautiful life and get to do these amazing things, but I don't know, I guess there's just such a distance from all of it now. So I don't know. I hope I articulated that right. It's hard to even like put this stuff into words. And I don't mean it to sound like a negative thing. It's actually been a positive thing. But that's just kind of how it's happened.
No, it's beautiful. It's like you can't say I'm Anthony and I am this, or like I'm a tabla player, or I'm Anthony and I'm this. It's just like I'm Anthony, and sometimes I don't even want to be that. Not like I don't want to be that, but like I don't even know who that is. So it's like you're floating. And I think that's really what being with Baba is.
Yeah, that's so well said, Margi. Yeah, that's totally what it feels like. It feels like a combination of floating in no man's land and having lived like 5 lives in one life that have like died and started over or something.
Yeah. I think we also, but then, I don't know, this is my own personal experience with this, but we get attached to that even. Then all of a sudden we're like, oh, I'm just a no man. And then Baba is like, are you really? Now I'm going to attach, he keeps us on that cycle of never getting too comfortable. So once you're comfortable in that no man's land, it's changes are coming.
Yeah, at Temple the Universe, Mickey's singer, he'd always quote this Bible quote. And I didn't know what it meant for a while, but I kind of feel like I might have an idea of what it means now. Jesus had said, foxes of the earth have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. Meaning there, I don't know, I took that to mean that, different people, whatever, have different identities. And, once you start to come to the Christ, it's just, there's nowhere to lay your head anymore. You just don't even know who or what you are anymore. So I don't know. That might be what that means, but it.
No, beautiful. Really, really
stuck
beautiful.
out.
No, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, for sure. Jay Baba.
Jay Baba. Thank you, Anthony. All right, up next, Marsha and Gidget. Gidget, are you talkative tonight?
He's sleeping next to me.
Okay.
This is kind of hard for me because my whole life's been wrapped up in being into art, and doing art. And I finally got my work up in the meeting place in the show, and I brought all my stuff here, and I really love what I do. And then I got caught up being in the video, and I saw myself, and I totally don't even like being out in public, and I'm out in public now, and I looked at myself, and I was embarrassed about, my looking at myself speaking about my art, and it really made me think about my ego, and what was the difference? Why should I feel upset about this is who I am? I'm 76, so it's kind of got a lot of things that I'm dealing with looking at myself. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, well, I should just take everything down, take down the paintings, take down the video, and just go hide, give all my artwork away. And I said, that's really kind of strange. So, but then I wrote down, well, what is it that I'm feeling? Why am I feeling this? And then I guess I had to look at my ego, and what the attachment I have that I had to what I look like in the world to people, because I've always kind of hidden away. So for me to come out now at 76, even now I was going to say, hey, don't tape me because I'm embarrassed about what I might say if I look at it later, but it's just something that Bob is making me go through, giving up worrying about what people think and what I look like, and because I'm who I am. I'm 76 and this is me, so I have to accept it. But I'm not even sure that's what I wanted to say when I started out talking now, but it's just been he keeps throwing things at me every minute, just stuff with the gross world that I have to deal with, and trusting him to take care of stuff. I have to do all the work and be out there, and things are happening that I can't control, and I guess it's just kind of I'm up in the air is all I'm saying. So it's he's really kind of been punching me and kicking and kissing, but one thing I know is when I paint, I'm so happy that it's like a gift, so I'm lucky. Anyway, that's it. Before I embarrass myself more.
No, I think, I think people who are hard on themselves like you are, they actually speak with the most clarity. And because you speak right from the heart, I don't know, that's at least my experience. When you speak, to me, there's so much value in it because you're speaking from a genuine place of everybody else who's ever been in that position in life, which is all of us. We don't like the way we look, we don't like this. You now become an example, and Baba uses that work in you to be that example for all other people. And so thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel a little better. But I can't look at that video. I was saying, my hair looked bad, this looked bad. I was kept saying 100 times, oh, I really like this work. This is my favorite work. This is mystical. I said, oh my God, just shut up, It's oh. And that's out in public, I'm like, do I take? And then all of a sudden somebody else put my stuff out there in the web and with pictures of me from years ago that how did that picture get there? And then I'm like, what, does everybody into my stuff? It's it brought up, oh my God, a can of worms. It's oh. So I said, I gotta just let it go, just let it go, right? It's okay.
He's got you. That's his son. When you're freaking out, that means he's got you. He's got you right where he wants you.
Yeah, my license plate, I've been trying to renew it since the beginning of March from Illinois, and it's expiring in one day, and I still don't have my plates renewed. I'm worried I'm gonna be driving around with a expired car thing. It's like, it's all this crazy. It's like, and then my daughter's coming tomorrow too. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hide, but I'll be okay. I'm
He's
strong.
got you
I
taken
know.
care of. Thanks for
He's
sharing.
got my back, right? Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Marcia. All right, up next, Josh.
Yeah, hey, I really relate to some aspects of that, Marcia, as an artist myself. Yeah, there have been times where I've just been too scared to like show anyone my artwork, and it just felt so personal and felt so easy to not do a good job. Yeah, but yeah, it's also funny that in like all my readings with Barber, there's like very few places where he's as like confidence building and as like ego supportive as artists, like he'd tell the artists to think of yourself as like the best artist in the world. And so I always think about that, like even if I'm going to do something that I don't like, I'm like, I'm the most incredible at this. And just to like have that fake it till you make it kind of outlook was something that I use and I really love. And yeah, that's like one of my favorite Barber bits. But yeah, attachments. God, yeah, it's yeah, I was talking in the chat before about how like such a central core of Buddhism is just like the renunciation of attachments, how they cause all suffering. Yeah, that's so true. I think they're really core, attachments and desires. They're sort of like this two sides of the same coin. But yeah, they're the parts of me that where I want to control things, and it's really rough when things don't go the way I plan. But yeah, I just try, and that's why I get so inspired by Buddhist mandalas as well, which is sort of like a bit of a similar kind of abstract art that I do. But yeah, it's this idea of making something beautiful and enjoying it, but then letting it fly away and be free by being, destroyed in the end, which is sort of an exercise in picking it up and attaching to it whilst it's happening, and then when it's ready to let go, just letting it go. But yeah, definitely something I can improve on more, and I love to hear all these stories.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. I'll share a little bit. I was thinking what to share. So sort of an attachment situation. About a month ago, for Bob's birthday, I was in this local play in Myrtle Beach on the center. We did 3 plays, and it's hard for the director to find volunteers to be in the plays. Of course, with having sort of an acting background and improv background, I did it. I did it with one of the play I was in. I talked to one of my improv friends to join as well because we couldn't really. It's hard to find a cast, and it was a lot of lines, a lot of practice, and once I memorized all the lines and whatnot, it was good. And my biggest thing of the play that I was in personally, both nights, just having the audience enjoy them and acting to the audience and just laughter, and it was great. But then I realized afterwards, like it went from like a high to like a low, like almost like a crashing low. It's hard to put into words what happened, and it was almost like a depression after Bob's birthday and after the plays were all done. Um, but I would say that was sort of like an attachment. To like give it up and go back and forget all the lines, forget I was even that character, and go on to something else. So that's a recent experience.
Thanks,
And
Peter.
you're welcome.
That's awesome.
And here's an amazing actor and a great UN hero, Tony. Take it away.
Mr. Effort and Grace.
Mr. Effort and Grace, yeah. Tony, you got to do pictures when you're in Myrtle Beach next. Autographs and pictures.
What's that?
You got to do autographs and pictures when you're in Myrtle Beach next.
Okay.
And waiting for your book to come out. You need a book. I'm sure you have so many stories of your acting days and UN days.
I have a book.
Ooh.
It's on Amazon. It's called Playing with Fire.
Love it.
But So detach, I was kind of feeling I got the idea of detachment. You do, you just go with the flow and you accept Baba's wish. This is what Baba wants me. Baba's placed me in this situation. And then Adrian spoke. And it was painful listening to her because it hit so close to home for me. And so I put my hand up to speak, but then a couple of people who hadn't spoken put their hands up. So I put my hand down. And then there were all these like artist stories. So, and the need to detach from my need to express just at that moment was actually painful for me. I was, well, the one thing that came to mind was just kind of related. Padre once said there is an Indian saying that Lakshmi and Saraswati, the goddess of wealth and the goddess of art and wisdom, don't usually get along. So they very rarely can live in harmony in the same household, but sometimes it happens. So that means, you know, if you're an artist, you can be successful, but it's a rare thing. I'm not detached about this issue. My father was a musician before I was born. With his first wife, he was very big in the 1940s, relatively speaking. And when I was born, we would have parties at home, and he got so much love flowing from the people who were there. He would sing and have people singing along, and he died when I was 9. And things were kind of rough until the Beatles showed up. And I had already started studying guitar, and I was pretty much decided when I was that was 12, maybe I was 12, but when I was 14, I was going to be the next Beatles. And I was absolutely confident. I had no doubt about it. And this is what I wanted to do. And we came to the point of almost at 15, maybe, we had a manager, and it was going to set us up in a gig in Greenwich Village. This is when Dylan and those people were there. And something sent it tumbling to the ground. But 69, Baba dropped his body. My musical life just awakened. I didn't know Baba, but I knew my life had just suddenly taken off. And then I got involved with the Baba group, and it was like suddenly I was getting the idea that I could do my music for me or for Baba. And it was like it was an on or off, yes or no, total binary thing. And if you accept that, well, and you know Baba is God, and you know Baba's love for you. So that's what I did. I dedicated all my music to Baba stuff. And then I left that group and I tried to start again. I have this same craving that Adrian was talking about. I don't think it has ever been gone. And the funny thing is, Baba gives me wonderful experiences of sharing love, spreading love through my music, through my acting, where you see Baba's coming through and it's affecting people, and they're wonderful. He gave me a role as Max Reinhardt, the person who discovered Narina Machiavelli. I mean, Baba's hand has been so clear in giving me so, but on the other hand, I live my life day to day thinking, I don't know how I'm going to finish all the things I want to do before I'm dead. And I struggle with this. And at the other hand, anybody could go at any moment. So I don't know. I'm not as detached as I was thinking at the beginning of this chat. I've got a YouTube channel. I've got that book. I sell a couple of copies of the book a month, maybe 1 or 2, you know. I know it touches the people who read it. And I know those who go to my YouTube channel are moved by the music. But I'm not the next Beatles. I don't know I don't really want that exactly, but I want to make people happy through my music and acting. And
you do, Tony. You definitely do.
Yeah, but I want to make millions of people happy.
All right, we got to figure out how to get your stuff to go viral.
I have an idea, Tony. We're gonna make you a TikTok.
I saw your TikTok. I'd never done it before. It's very good. Oh, I wanted to say, speaking of that, I have, astrologically speaking, I've got a packed 10th house with Leo and the South Node and a 5th house, which is performing. But what the North Node, which is where your spiritual direction is supposed to be, is in my 4th house, which is home, family, intimacy, internal life. So I've got like massive energies wanting to accomplish and achieve. And I'm most happy when I give my love at home. It's not fair. That's all.
Tony.
All right, and we have Bob Yeager next, the Jägermeister.
Yeah, Baba. I'd wanted to say something and I didn't quite know where to go with it, but your stories have all helped me to kind of figure it out a little bit. So many of your stories have been about, especially when huge life changes happen, things that you didn't expect. The chapter is done. Anthony said that. And then the next chapter is done. And all of a sudden, it's like you get to the point where I get to the point where I'm thinking, it's like I'm the title of that Heinlein book, Stranger in a Strange Land. What the hell am I doing here? What is this? I wander around the neighborhood and I'm looking at things that look very familiar. And at the same time, they don't. Because, well, where do I belong? What am I supposed to be doing? Well, the only answer that suddenly comes to me is, I don't belong here. None of us really belong here. We belong to Baba. And so all of these lessons are, learn who you really are. And I'm not, it's like, oh yeah, right, Bob, sure, But it really struck me. I wrote a little poem about it once. I can't find it now. About sitting after Artie outside the tomb, everybody crowded together with, your knees poking into the aisle, and everybody is like, none of us really belong here. We all belong to Baba. We all belong with him. It's the only way to belong. So if that makes any sense at all, I'm trying to get more like that. So, Jai Baba.
Thanks, Bob. Bob, I always love when you share so much because you speak so beautifully and you're so concise. I love it. Thank you.
All right, and Rich.
Okay. Well, the only thing that could float to the top of my brain, listening to all this, and I keep thinking, the age does make a difference in all this. Because when you're young, I still say those sanskaras, you've brought them in, and they're jam-packed with energy, ready to go. They're like freshly charged batteries, and you're going to use them. So attachment to stuff is much more normal in terms of ordinary consciousness. But I have something, you've mentioned it, and Adrian mentioned it, but I don't even know what it is. But I've always had this desire to achieve more, but never been able to do that, not really. And some of that energy has been channeled, but I think in terms of this overall attachment, I don't really feel like we are each on a spiritual path. I think we are Baba, and Baba as Margi, Baba as Baba, Marion, Baba as any one of us. You're essentially, you have been awakened. We are Avatar Meher Baba. And therefore, it, like the discourses, they're meant for, 100, 200, 300 years from now. Right now, all you have, we're experiencing what Baba is within the domain of our sanskaric reincarnations and our habits and all that. I'm not real happy with a lot of things about me and my life and all that, but I think that what that really means is that I've done some things that have had consequences for myself and other people that weren't happy, weren't loving, or whatever you want to call it. But I just finished the book on Padre. And so Padre, I guess, had the symbol, the loonies, the way, like all the people that go to the tomb, the loonies, that's what he called them. And there's some interviews there with some of the people who lived there, Janet Allen, Bob, and Ted, and Erica was gone by the time they got all this together. He wrote a couple of stories. But the one thing that really struck me near the end, it's pretty amazing in a way, but Padre said, I think Janet was telling a story, or maybe Heather, but she invited him to come see some movies of Baba, and we've all seen them, the black and whites and whatever, and they're really wonderful and they're moving. But so Padre went to see the first one they produced. I mean, they played. I think it was in Marizon, but I'm not sure about that. But anyway, so I went to see it. So the next week they were going to have another one. So Heather says, Padre, we're going to have another movie, so come and see it. He said, nope, I'm not going to come. And she said, well, why? And he said, because those movies make Baba look like a cow, soft, easy, mellow. And he said, that's not who he was. He was fire, mister. He was fire. That's what Padre said. And it's like, I mean, Baba can destroy anything in any one of our lives anytime he wants. And he can. And I think he will. But it's not because you have done anything wrong or there's an error in your karma. It's because he will not tolerate anything between him and you. It just won't. And I think I've experienced some of that, but doesn't necessarily mean it's a happy experience, but that's why we have him to hold on to. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. That's a mic drop.
I have to say,
anything.
your share brought me a lot of joy hearing that we're all going to get destroyed.
There's actually this story.
I'm not joking.
Oh, go ahead.
It really brought me a lot of joy. Thank you.
I feel way better.
I had a good laugh because
Going down.
we're all going down, but it's
All in the same
He doesn't
pot.
give us more
There
than
we
what we can handle, right?
I appreciate it. I just want to say thank you, sincerely. Okay, Baba.
Thank you. Yeah.
There's a story I have two stories I want to share, and then I guess we can close up if nobody else is sparked to say anything. But I heard the story about Padre, how Padre's job was to write about the weather to Baba or tell Baba how the weather was. And so one day Padre was in a good mood and decided to tell Baba, the flowers bloom for your name, and make it like super poetic, and the sun shines, all this. And Baba wrote back, I don't know the exact words, but it was something along the lines like, I will destroy you. The very pillar with which you hold will be destroyed. I will turn you into less than dust. And Padre went around skipping in ecstasy for the rest of the day. He was like, to him, that was the best thing he possibly could have gotten. So that's a nice story. But just the last story on the subject of attachment and how we never really know why Baba takes things away from us. But the story of Harry Kenmore, he was blind, for those of you guys that don't know. And he was pretty psychic from what I understand, was able to actually look back in his past lives and see that there was no reason that he should have been blind. And he was really angry about this, really upset with Baba that he didn't understand why he was blind. He was so frustrated. And so he brought this to Baba one day. And he was like, there's no reason. Why did this happen to me? And Baba said that he was destined to become a famous surgeon. And Baba made him blind so that him and Baba would be together. And so it just shows how Baba there's always a reason that he's got, better for us. And it's usually so we can be with him, or it's always so we can be with him.
Yeah, Baba said, you would have been the world's greatest surgeon, but you wouldn't have come to me. Yeah. Yeah. But Harry was also, if you read Pukar's diary, he really, the problem he had with his blindness was that he couldn't see Baba. And he really kind of got on Baba's case a little bit to maybe let him see Baba. And Baba said, no, this is what you have to have right now. Yeah.
All right, let's hear Marion.
Hi, I don't have really much more to share, but I'm so moved by everyone sharing. And it reminded me of, I thought, well, I would share this because not many people know much about my personal life. I feel I've lost everything, and I won't go into an explanation what that is. And there are times where I just say, Baba, I've lost everything in this life, everything. And if I'm feeling, pain and sorrow about that, I've heard more than once in that quiet time, again, that voice saying, you belong to me. So it's been woven through this life. Of my human self, I feel sorrow that I've lost everything. And then the gratitude of knowing that I am one with Baba, I belong to him. So I just want to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Well, on that note, shall we say 3 Avatar, Mayor Baba Ki Jai all together? If you guys want to unmute. Avatar, Meher Baba.
Baba.
Ki
Okay.
Jai. Avatar, Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar, Meher Baba Ki Jai. Thank you so much, guys. This was an amazing chat. Thanks for
Thank you.
everybody. Was
Really
so
great
Really
chat.
great. Thank you.
so
Margie, Peter, thank you.
Hi, BJ.